Hey, this is Mike LaFleche here, the professor. Hope you're doing well. Back here from a nice Thanksgiving weekend and going through some of the latest updates in Onshape. One of my favorites, of course, is the flatten surface function here. So, here we have a bike seat here, perforated hole pattern, and here I am inside of Onshape, dark mode, of course, right? And let's take a look at the flatten surface function. It's right there under the evaluation tools there to measure things. You can select a whole group of faces here tangently in one selection and flatten the advanced shape that you see right here. Now, of course, let me just pause this here. We can export this to a number of formats. SVG, DXF are probably going to be the more popular ones for going to a laser or some kind of fabric cutting equipment. But it doesn't have to be fabric, of course. You can use this for paint decals. You can use this for any kind of non-planar, like non-sheet metal kind of flattening is what you would use this for, right? So really interesting. Let me just present my screen here. I'll just do this part live, of course. And let me just go full screen right there. There I am inside of the part studio for that saddle. When you go in and do a flattened surface analysis here, first of all, you saw this earlier in the video, right? Just find your selection manager here, create a bunch of tangent connected faces, just like that. Now, there might be other things you might care about, when you're interested in surface analysis, right? So, we have a checkerboard pattern here. Let's hit the flatten button first. So that way you can kind of see where things are stretching in a funny way, which you would expect, right? So let me hide the saddle itself. Look at this from the top. Maybe even hide the context there so we can see what's going on a little better. But you can kind of see the difference there, how the tiling maps from the warped surface to the flattened surface. You can also show distortion, and anything going away from green is going to give you some distortion and ripples that you might expect on a flattened surface, right? You can change the scale of that to kind of see it a little easier. To get rid of those, what you want to do are provide ripped edges here. So this is where you actually need to see the original model. So I turn that back on, and if I look under here, maybe I want to just grab that edge and hit flatten again. If we zoom in on here, we're going to see the new flatten take shape. Okay. Once you have that shape and once it figured out the calculation on that particular edge, we will then want to actually show the export options, right? DXF, SVG right there. There's the flattened shape. Let's just hit the SVG button, choose export. SVG, scalable vector graphic, very common in a laser, cutters for this type of stuff, right? In fact, I already have it right here in my model right here. So there's the SVG file. Of course, you would just download that, to wherever it needs to go. You send that to your laser. So wicked easy to create, very advanced flattened shapes for things, like this bike seat right here. And of course, nothing is complete without a beautiful rendering to cover it up right here with our render studio. And I just used the perforated hole pattern on this. Hey, we're live, right? If you'll indulge me for a minute, I'll just go into the render studio and show you, how easy it is to do that image, right? So we'll just load up a render studio. I'm going to edit the scene. I already had a scene, of course, prepared, when I created that image. Brought in the whole bike, set it at high tessellation because, we have wheels and things like that and advanced surfacing. So we want the highest quality possible to actually go ahead and, view that. And, you can also, view this in dark mode, which is a little nicer for Render Studio. And you can see, I already have the perforated hole pattern on here. We're just finishing uploading the geometry. Like I said, I set it to extreme high resolution to get the highest quality possible on the wheels and the surfaces here. Tessellation quality. It's just, when you do any kind of rendering, there's triangles, there's tessellation. And, if you're going to have like a zoomed in bokeh rendering like I'm doing right here, it's going to be pretty important to have that tessellation quality set high, at least at the very end for your final renders. When you're doing your initial testing and trying out materials, you want to set it to a coarse setting. That way it's the quickest response, right? All right, now I'll hit the edit button. And of course, in our library, we have a number of different patterns and things like that for materials. I'll just, there we are. Give you a few examples of some of the other renderings that we have while it's loading up the scene there. I also downloaded a high quality HDR scene from Polyhaven just to give that background the most realistic look, right? If you saw the background right here, it looked really nice and it's reflecting onto the saddle here. So, to get that, high quality background image, and I've bokeh it out and everything, you really want to get a high quality HDR image, right? Here's an example of one earlier, slightly downscaled quality HDR image without the bokeh. And then, here, we have the one with the bokeh. Let's go back into our Render Studio. I must have two tabs open here. Hold on. Apologize for that. That's what happens when you go off and do a live show, right? All right, let's actually jump back into that again. I'll learn how to manage my windows one day or another here using this app that I'm using here, StreamYard. It's a great app for sharing things like I am right now. All right. While the geometry is loading here, the library provides a huge number of materials, as you can tell. My favorite way of exploring it is to just search into what I think I'm looking for. Like a car paint is something that I like to use often, for these kinds of projects. So I'll just type in, car paint right in here, and then you have your appearances and environments on the other side. And this is where you can override those HDR environments that I was talking about earlier. All right, should be just about there now. Perhaps for a future session, I will do a full session on how I set up this bike and the saddle for a Render Studio. There's a bunch of other things I want to go through on this particular bike, some stress analysis, some assembly instructions, and finishing off some drawings. So we'll definitely get there. But thanks for joining me for a few minutes here, just to take a look at flattening surfaces inside of Onshape, getting this surface flattened out using the embedded functionality for that. Once again, just to remind everybody, let me find the saddle. There's the saddle right there. To get to it, you simply just find the analysis tool, flatten the surfaces, and go from there. And you get your result in DXF, SVG, or other formats. All right. So hopefully you enjoy this. Thanks again. Hopefully you have a chance to let us know what kind of surface flattening results you're getting. All right. Have fun.